Hi, welcome to What to Watch. I'm Jason. This is where I go to see a wide release film and let you guys know whether you should spend your money on it or not. Every single week I'm going to be uploading at least one video about one of the new films being screened in theaters this week. This week we're going to be talking about Ridley Scott's The Martian, a film starring Matt Damon set on the planet of Mars. The basic premise of this movie is a bunch of astronauts go off to Mars and they're on some sort of mission trying to receive samples. I think they might be one of the first manned missions on Mars, but that's never really specified. A storm hits them while they're outside of the ship, and they believe Mark Watney, the astronaut played by Matt Damon, has been killed and decide to leave without him. Mark Watney, however, is not dead. We find him waking up the very next day and trying to survive on the planet for however many years he's going to end up being there, while NASA tries to figure out a way to get him back. Ridley Scott's a director who has gone from great to bad to maybe he's gonna be good again now. We'll see how it goes from here. With amazing films to start off like Alien and the Academy Award winning Gladiator, we all had high hopes for whatever Ridley Scott was gonna be doing. However, in the 2000s and 2010s we saw a lot of films that were less than excellent. Robin Hood, some people would say Prometheus, and The Counselor. This is where I got a little bit nervous. Ridley Scott doesn't have the greatest track record with book to screen, especially great book like The Counselor by Cormac McCarthy, which he turned into The Counselor, a terrible film by Ridley Scott. This movie looks like it's going to be Ridley Scott's comeback. Let's start off with some of the pros in this movie. Number one being Matt freaking Damon. I mean, I knew the dude could act, but I didn't know he was that good. Matt Damon has a killer range in this movie, going from being so distraught and hopeless and in such horrible pain to being really funny and such a smartass. That was one of the big things of this movie. I did not expect to be as funny as it was. There were a lot of good laughs in this movie, and I did not see that coming. From the production design to the cinematography, this movie is beautiful to look at. Mars is this incredibly gorgeous landscape, and outside of that, the sets they built there for NASA and for Mark Watney to be on are all just so cool to look at. The movie is 2.5 hours, but it really doesn't feel like it, so don't be worried about the runtime if that's going to be stopping you from seeing it. The supporting cast in this movie is also awesome. Chiwetel Ejiofor has been great for years, from Serenity to 12 Years a Slave, and he kills it once again in this movie. Jeff Daniels also does a really great job as the head of NASA in this movie, and I absolutely love Jessica Chastain in almost anything that she does. Everyone in this movie, really supporting cast-wise, was amazing. Kate Mara was great in her limited role, and so was Michael Pena. They really add to this close connection you can feel between Mark Watney and all these other astronauts. Everybody makes their role seem so believable. The music is also really interesting, not just the score, but the soundtrack. It almost has like a Guardians of the Galaxy vibe, which I would not have expected from a movie like this. I never thought I would be okay seeing the song Waterloo in this movie, but it works. Also really important to mention is the tension that this movie builds. A lot of movies recently have been doing tension so well, keeping you on the edge of your seat, like The Gift and Whiplash, and this movie adds to that. Granted, I freak out every single time I see an astronaut step outside of a spaceship. That just gives me anxiety like crazy. But the tension in this movie is so good. If you haven't read the book, like myself, you have no idea what's going to happen in this movie. It keeps you on your toes the entire time. But now let's talk about a couple of the cons of this movie. Few and far between, but there are a few. As I said earlier, this film is filled with so much humor, but a couple of the jokes kind of don't land, and that leaves a little bit of an awkward feeling for those couple of moments. Interestingly enough, the two members of the cast I was most curious about were probably my least favorite of the film. Kristen Wiig just kind of felt like Kristen Wiig acting in a role, and she did a fine job, but it really didn't feel like a character like everybody else in the movie did. Donald Glover was also really weird in the movie. It really kind of felt out of place, like his character just kind of came out of nowhere. I feel like they maybe shot a scene with him and it just got cut for time's sake. But overall, those are my only gripes of the movie. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And now I'm going to get into my actual review where I talk about the score of this movie. For What to Watch, I'm going to have 3 different reviews, which sounds like a lot, but calm down, it's nothing crazy. The main 2 ones for this channel are going to be Brain On and Brain Off. Brain On is if you're going into the movie expecting to kind of have your mind on the whole time and really appreciate some deeper elements, some quality filmmaking techniques, things like that. Brain Off is if you just kind of want to do what it says, turn your brain off and have a great time. I'll give you the quick example scale. Ex Machina is a film that I would not suggest if you want to turn your brain off because it's a slow burn and it's a very intellectual film. But with your brain on, I would absolutely recommend it because it's terrific. Then you have a movie like Furious 7, which brain on, wouldn't recommend. There's a lot of stupid stuff in it, but brain off, yes, because it's a kick-ass, awesome, fun action movie. Then we have films like Transformers Age of Extinction, where I wouldn't ask Hitler to go see that movie. There's a movie like Mad Max, where you can enjoy it if you're appreciating it for the filmmaking aspects, and you can enjoy it for a lot of explosions and cool action sequences. So, those out of the way, The Martian, I would give a brain on thumbs up and a brain off thumbs up. Realistically, anybody who goes to see this movie is going to have a fantastic time. Last I checked, the movie was at 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know who those other 6% are, but they're wrong, and the movie is fantastic. As for my score, which I will do out of 10, I will give this movie 9 out of 10. So please, go out, check out The Martian, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. As I am just starting off, if you like this review, I would appreciate if you would share it with your friends. And if you have any feedback on how I can get better, I would really appreciate that. I'm just trying to do the best I can and talk about some movies. So thank you so much for watching, and until next weekend, enjoy The Martian.